There is a dangerous lie that modern society has programmed into you from the moment you stepped into your first classroom, and it is a lie that is costing you your peace of mind, your career, and your sanity. We are taught that human interactions are inherently built on good faith. We are conditioned by a culture of endless self-help books, corporate human resources seminars, and couples counseling to believe that every conflict is just a misunderstanding waiting to be resolved through open communication. We are told to use our words, to express our boundaries, to be empathetic, and to assume that the other person is operating with the same moral compass that we are. But out there, in the real world, in the cutthroat environment of corporate America, in the subtle power struggles of suburban relationships, and in the quiet desperation of everyday life, this belief is not just naive. It is a target painted on your back. There is a specific breed of individual walking among us who does not see your empathy as a virtue. They see it as a vulnerability. They do not care about your carefully constructed boundaries, and they absolutely do not care about your feelings. To the manipulator, your desire for harmony is a weapon they can pick up and use against you. If you are listening to this, you have likely already encountered them. You know the exact feeling. It is that sinking sensation in your stomach when you walk away from a conversation feeling completely drained, questioning your own reality, even though you were the one who was wronged. It is the exhaustion of dealing with a coworker who somehow manages to steal the credit for your late nights and weekend hustle while simultaneously playing the victim in front of management. It is the romantic partner or family member who uses modern therapy speak to gaslight you, twisting your legitimate grievances into evidence that you are overreacting, that you are the toxic one. You find yourself trapped in a relentless cycle of over-explaining yourself. You write long, carefully worded emails or text messages trying to make them understand your perspective, trying to appeal to their sense of fairness. You lie awake at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling, analyzing every word of an argument, convinced that if you can just find the right way to communicate your feelings, they will finally see the damage they are causing. But they already know. That is the chilling truth that you must accept if you want to survive. The manipulator is not confused. They are not lacking in communication skills. They are not acting out of a temporary emotional wound. They are executing a strategy. When they give you the silent treatment, it is not because they need space to process their emotions. It is a calculated starvation tactic designed to make you desperate for their approval. When they triangulate you by bringing a third party into your conflict, whispering half-truths to your boss or your mutual friends, it is a deliberate move to isolate you and destroy your credibility before you even have a chance to defend yourself. In the modern American landscape, where image is everything and plausible deniability is the currency of the realm, the most dangerous predators do not wear masks. They wear suits. They wear friendly smiles at the neighborhood block party. They know exactly how to push you to the edge of an emotional reaction, and the moment you snap, the moment you raise your voice in frustration, they calmly point the finger at you and say, "Look how unstable they are." This is the victim's loop. It is a psychological prison designed to keep you off balance, doubting your own memory, and constantly striving to appease someone who can never be appeased. The stress of this dynamic is not just in your head. It manifests physically. It is the chronic cortisol spike, the adrenal fatigue, the constant state of fight or flight that you cannot turn off. It is the heavy realization that doing the right thing, playing by the rules of conventional morality, is exactly what is getting you destroyed. You have been playing a game of chess while the other person is playing with fire. You cannot defeat a manipulator by trying to heal them, by trying to out-communicate them, or by giving them the benefit of the doubt. Every time you warn them about what you are going to do, every time you threaten to leave or report them, you are handing them your playbook. You are giving them the exact information they need to counter your next move. To break free from this matrix of exploitation, you must undergo a radical paradigm shift. You have to stop looking at these situations through the lens of modern empathy and start looking at them through the cold, unapologetic lens of power dynamics. Centuries ago, a political philosopher named Niccolo Machiavelli observed the ruthless nature of power, survival, and human deception. While history has often painted his work as a manual for tyrants, the modern application of Machiavellian intelligence is something entirely different. It is the ultimate defensive mechanism for the empathetic individual. It is about understanding the mechanics of manipulation so thoroughly that you become immune to it. It is about realizing that you do not need to become a monster to defeat one, but you absolutely must understand how the monster thinks. You must learn to strip away the emotion, the guilt, and the social conditioning that holds you back. You must realize that when you are dealing with a predator, hesitation is a death sentence, warning them is a strategic failure, and allowing yourself to be the victim is a choice you can no longer afford to make. The time for open communication has passed. The time for tactical maneuvering has begun. To understand why the tactical maneuvering of Machiavellian intelligence is your only viable defense, you first have to understand the invisible psychological architecture of the trap you are currently in. The reason you feel like you are losing your mind when dealing with a manipulator is not because you are weak, and it is certainly not because you are crazy. It is because you are projecting your own psychological framework onto someone who operates on a completely different behavioral operating system. In the realm of clinical psychology, researchers often refer to the framework of the dark triad, which includes narcissism, Machiavellianism as a personality trait, and psychopathy. But you do not need to diagnose someone with a personality disorder to be destroyed by their behavior. You only need to look at the mechanisms of what Dr. George Simon, a prominent American clinical psychologist and author, identifies as covert aggression. According to decades of research recognized by the American Psychological Association, covert aggressors are individuals who conceal their aggressive, dominating motives behind a mask of innocence or vulnerability. They fight for power, control, and dominance, but they do it in a way that makes you look like the aggressor. When they conveniently forget a crucial deadline that makes you look incompetent in front of your entire department, or when they drop a passive-aggressive comment disguised as a joke at a family Thanksgiving dinner, they are not lacking in self-awareness. The ambiguity is intentional. It is a calculated smoke screen designed to trigger your cognitive dissonance. This brings us to the core mechanism of why highly intelligent, capable Americans, from Wall Street executives to brilliant software engineers in Silicon Valley, stay trapped in these toxic dynamics for years. It is not because they are masochists. It is because of a deeply ingrained biological response known as intermittent reinforcement. Harvard University psychologist B.F. Skinner proved this phenomenon decades ago with his famous operant conditioning experiments. Skinner discovered that if you reward a subject every single time they perform an action, they learn the behavior, but their attachment to the reward is relatively stable and logical. However, if you reward them unpredictably, if you give them the reward sometimes and withhold it at other times for absolutely no logical reason, the subject becomes completely obsessed. They will work themselves into a state of exhaustion trying to trigger the reward. This is the exact psychology behind slot machines in Las Vegas, and it is the exact psychology a manipulator uses against you. They do not treat you terribly 100% of the time. If they did, you would simply pack your bags, update your resume, and walk away. Instead, they sprinkle in moments of intense charm, vulnerability, and false cooperation. They give you just enough hope to make you believe that the person you originally met is still in there, waiting to be rescued by your unconditional support. This creates a trauma bond, a biochemical addiction to the cycle of abuse and reconciliation that floods your brain with dopamine and cortisol, effectively hijacking your logical reasoning. Breaking this biochemical and psychological hold requires a suspension of your traditional moral reflexes and the adoption of the first critical rule of applied Machiavellian strategy: you must never hesitate. Hesitation is the byproduct of hope. It is the pause you take when you think, maybe they did not mean it that way, or maybe if I just explain it one more time, they will change. In the brutal calculus of power dynamics, hesitation is blood in the water. When a manipulator sees you pause to consider their feelings after they have just actively sabotaged you, they do not feel gratitude for your patience. They feel contempt for your weakness. To stop hesitating means to trust your pattern recognition over their plausible deniability. You must stop waiting for a confession that is never going to come and start reacting to their actions as deliberate strategic maneuvers. Consider the case of a corporate dynamic commonly seen in the competitive real estate markets of cities like Miami or Chicago. Imagine a highly competent project manager dealing with a senior partner who constantly undermines her. The senior partner steals her market analyses, presents them to the board as his own, and when confronted in private, plays the victim, claiming he is just overwhelmed and thought they were working as a team. For months, the project manager hesitates. She documents her feelings in a journal, she talks to human resources who offer unhelpful mediation, and she tries to set boundaries by having open conversations. Every conversation leaves her feeling more exhausted and looking more emotionally unstable to the rest of the office, while the senior partner remains perfectly calm, collecting the bonuses from her hard work. Her hesitation, born out of a desire to be professional and fair, is the exact mechanism he is exploiting. The moment she realizes this, she implements the second, and perhaps most vital, Machiavellian rule for dealing with predators: never warn. In American culture, we are deeply conditioned to believe in the concept of fair warning. We give 2 weeks' notice. We issue ultimatums. We say, if you do this one more time, I am going to report you. This is a fatal strategic error. When you warn a manipulator, you are not establishing a boundary, you are handing them a blueprint of your defense system. You are giving them the gift of time. Time to hide the evidence. Time to launch a preemptive smear campaign against you. Time to run to your boss, your family, or your social circle and plant the seed that you are acting erratic and paranoid, so that when you finally do take action, your credibility is already destroyed. A warning is an emotional release for you, but it is a tactical goldmine for them. To trap a manipulator, you must master the discipline of strategic silence. You must continue to smile, you must continue to nod, and you must give them the illusion that their manipulation is still working perfectly while you quietly build your fortress behind the scenes. This leads directly into the third rule: control the flow of information. A manipulator thrives in the gray areas of verbal communication. They love conversations that happen in hallways, unrecorded phone calls, and private dinners, because words evaporate the moment they are spoken, leaving only a battle of his word against yours. And in that battle, the person with the least amount of shame always wins. You must systematically eliminate the gray area. You become an absolute black hole for their emotional probing, feeding them nothing but neutral, uninteresting data about your personal life. Simultaneously, you transition all critical interactions into a hard, verifiable reality. You confirm every verbal agreement with an email. You keep a meticulous, time-stamped paper trail. You do not do this aggressively, you do it under the guise of efficiency and organization. You are not fighting them, you are simply building a cage of facts around them, a cage they do not even realize they are walking into. By mastering the art of the void, by becoming perfectly unreadable and withholding your emotional reactions, you starve them of their primary fuel source. You deny them the intermittent reinforcement they are trying to extract from you. They will try to escalate. They will push harder, they will throw tantrums, and they will try to provoke you into the emotional outburst they desperately need to validate their victimhood. But as you watch them flail against your sudden, impenetrable neutrality, the fog of cognitive dissonance begins to lift. You are no longer the confused victim reacting to a chaotic environment. You have become the architect of the environment. You have neutralized their weapon simply by refusing to play your assigned role. You have cornered them in a space where their only remaining option is to expose their true nature to everyone else. The trap has been set, the bait has been taken, and now it is time to close the door. Once you have sealed off their access to your emotional reactions and established an impenetrable wall of neutrality, a fascinating and entirely predictable phenomenon occurs. They begin to panic. The manipulator's entire sense of control, their entire psychological ecosystem, relies on your predictable distress. When you remove that emotional labor, you create a terrifying vacuum for them. And this brings us to the fourth rule of Machiavellian defense: let them hang themselves. In the American legal system, particularly during grueling depositions, there is an unwritten rule among trial lawyers: never interrupt an opposing witness when they are in the middle of making a mistake. The exact same principle applies to your psychological warfare. When the manipulator realizes their subtle digs, their gaslighting, and their silent treatments are no longer working, their carefully crafted mask will begin to slip. Desperate to regain the upper hand, they will escalate their behavior to provoke you. They will become more aggressive, more reckless, and more overt. This is the moment you must hold your ground and do absolutely nothing. Do not correct them. Do not defend yourself. Let them send that unhinged, emotionally volatile text message at 2 in the morning. Let them throw a completely irrational tantrum in the middle of the open plan office, or start a baseless argument at the family barbecue. By maintaining your absolute, unwavering composure, you become the calm, rational contrast to their manufactured chaos. You are simply handing them the rope, and their own inflated ego will gladly do the rest. But simply watching them self-destruct is not enough to guarantee your safety. You must secure the perimeter, which leads directly to rule number 5, control the narrative before the explosion. Covert aggressors are absolute masters of the preemptive smear campaign. The moment they sense they are losing their grip on you, they will rush to paint you as the villain to anyone who will listen. You must initiate a preemptive strike, but it must be executed with surgical precision, completely devoid of emotion or vindictiveness. You do not go to your boss, your human resources department, or your mutual friends to complain about how the manipulator makes you feel. In the brutal reality of corporate America and modern social hierarchies, feelings are subjective and often viewed as a liability. Instead, you present objective reality. You casually share the meticulously documented paper trail you have been building. You ask for advice on how to handle a challenging workflow inefficiency, or you express mild, professional concern about a breakdown in team communication, presenting yourself as the rational, solution-oriented leader who is simply trying to keep things on track. By the time the manipulator launches their desperate smear campaign, painting you as crazy or unreasonable, the people around you have already been inoculated. They have already seen the data. They already view you as the stable asset and the manipulator as the erratic liability. You have effectively neutralized their social leverage before they even tried to use it. This sets the stage for the 6th rule, the ruthless execution. When the time comes to finally close the trap, whether that means resigning from the toxic job and taking your clients with you, serving divorce papers, or permanently cutting off a deeply toxic family member, you do not negotiate. You do not explain yourself. And you absolutely do not seek closure. The modern American obsession with closure is one of the most dangerous myths perpetrated by pop psychology and daytime talk shows. Closure requires two honest people willing to take accountability. You are not dealing with an honest person. Seeking a final, clarifying conversation with a manipulator is like asking a thief to apologize for stealing your wallet. It only gives them another opportunity to pick your pocket. They will use that final conversation to plant one last seed of doubt, to shift the blame, or to promise a fake transformation. The execution of your departure must be swift, clinical, and absolute. You deliver the facts, you enact the boundary, and you walk away. If you are confronting them in a corporate setting with HR present, you lay out the undeniable evidence, let the institutional mechanisms handle their termination, and you do not look back. If it is a personal relationship, you deliver the final word and immediately block their access to you across every single digital and physical platform. You do not leave a window cracked open for a future reconciliation. You board up the house and you burn the bridge to the ground. Which brings us to the seventh and final rule, the core Machiavellian philosophy that must govern the rest of your life: never be the victim. Being victimized is an event that happened to you, it is a temporary state of vulnerability. But being a victim is an identity, a permanent psychological weight that society will tempt you to carry. Culture will often encourage you to wear your trauma as a badge of honor, to join endless support groups where you perpetually dissect the damage that was done to you. While acknowledging your pain and healing is absolutely necessary, wallowing in the injustice of it all is a trap that keeps you chained to the person who hurt you. The ultimate victory over a manipulator is not destroying their life, it is rendering them entirely irrelevant to your future success. You must take this dark intelligence you have just acquired and use it to forge an impenetrable new armor. You are no longer the naive, blindly trusting individual who walked into their snare. You are a hardened, highly aware strategist. You now understand that true empathy is not a limitless, cheap resource to be handed out to anyone with a sad story. It is a sacred privilege that must be earned through mutual respect and consistent good faith. You have looked directly into the abyss of human deception, and instead of letting it consume your light, you have learned how to navigate the dark. You have realized that in a world full of predators looking for an easy mark, your greatest weapon is not malice, but crystal clear vision. You finally see people exactly for who they are, not for who you desperately wish they could be. As the dust settles on this conflict and you step into this newfound, unapologetic power, remember that you are the sole architect of your own peace. The silence that follows the removal of a manipulator from your life may feel deafening and strange at first, but very soon, you will realize it is simply the sound of your own freedom. Thank you for walking through this darkness with me today. If this breakdown resonated with you, if it finally gave you the vocabulary and the tactical clarity you have been desperately searching for, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. I want to hear your story. Leave a comment below about a time you had to strategically remove a toxic presence from your life. Your experience, your survival, might be the exact blueprint someone else needs to read today to finally break free. Share this video with that one friend or colleague who is fighting a silent battle they do not fully understand yet. This is Lucid Soma, reminding you to never hesitate, never warn, and never, ever be the victim. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your mind sharp.